expert Duncan is joining me in studio, and this time he has two toys. Now we're going to be focusing on the Hisense Infinity Pure, but we're going to do a little bit of a compare and contrast with the HTC1. Duncan?
Yeah, this is going to be the phone. This is the best phone you've never heard of.
The Hisense Infinity Pure.
Exactly.
I just heard of it when you came in here.
So most people will know Hisense from their TVs or washing machines or microwaves, I guess.
We've had one other Hisense phone. We've done a review in
with
here.
A weird name.
Yeah.
UP9.
A lot of letters and numbers.
So this is the updated version, the Infinity Pure.
Yeah.
It is massive. You can see the display.
The screen is huge.
Yeah, so you're looking at a, what is that, 14 centimeters, I guess?
That's bigger than the Samsung. Is it bigger than the Samsung?
Slightly.
Okay.
Slightly. Then you talk about the S4,
yeah.
S5. Yeah, slightly. This is in big phone territory. It's almost phablet territory.
Yeah.
And what's cool about this is, as you can see, when I scroll through it, you can see that it is nice and fast. There are no delays, and the display doesn't look like a cheap phone.
No, it looks actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, people only realize that it's a Hisense when they turn it around and they see, oh, it's Hisense. Now, for comparison, I brought in the HTC1, and the HTC is more than double the price of the Hisense.
Yeah.
But do you think it's double the phone?
Is it double the phone? That's what you're here to tell me.
Oh, is that what I'm... Oh, sorry, I didn't read that in the script. No, it isn't. While the HTC can take phenomenally good pictures, much better than the Hisense, let's not kid ourselves about that. The HTC does cost about in the region of 9,000 Rand.
Now, is that worth just being able to take photos?
Well, that's what you guys, if it's you spending your own money, then it's a decision that you have to make. But this Hisense, and the reason you won't see it in your mobile operator catalog is that it has dual SIM, just like the previous one we saw.
Okay, so you can have more than one SIM in there.
Exactly. Now, South Africans aren't generally used to phones that have dual SIM, because we've kind of been trained that only one SIM goes into one phone. But in the rest of Africa, it's very common to have dual SIM because network coverage is so patchy, so people move between areas and they switch SIMs. For us, dual SIM actually makes great financial sense because you can have one SIM to make phone calls with and then use another company's SIM for data. You know, that company that's very cheap with data that I won't mention. So that is where dual SIM really comes into its play, but it's not very popular with the mobile operators. As an example, Nokia launched the X series of smartphones more than 2 months ago. And I have been battling against the brick wall to try and get the big operators to say when they will range the new Nokia X series, primarily, I think, because those are also dual SIM.
Well, you can see why the operators don't want you to have dual SIM. They don't want you taking your business
What?
somewhere else.
Don't data? No?
All right, well, let's get down to the big thing with this. I know price is a big point, not only for us, but for everyone else. How much is that?
3,000.
3,000 outright. You can buy it outright.
For 3,000, you buy it outright. You get dual SIM. It comes with, I've loaded applications on here that take quite a lot of memory to run, and it handles it perfectly. It's only got 1 gig of RAM. Can't believe I'm saying only and a gig of RAM in the same sentence, but there you go.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So it's got 1 gig of RAM, it's got 8 gigabytes of onboard memory, but only about 5 gigabytes of that is usable. Yeah. So it's not phenomenally powerful. You do get a 1.3 gigahertz quad-core processor. So it's kind of at the bottom end in terms of when you compare it to devices like the HTC or the Samsung Galaxy S5 or what else we have, the Sony Xperia Z1 or Z2. But the price is the big selling point of this phone. It's a brilliant little device. It appeals to a section of the market that is very price conscious. It's a good deal for 3,000 Rand. And if you compare it to, a lot of the companies are bringing out mini devices now.
Yeah.
Right? If you compare it to the mini device, it's even cheaper than what they are.
Wow.
So it's cheaper than the Galaxy S4 Mini.
Yeah.
probably will be cheaper than the Galaxy S5 Mini as well if that comes out. It's cheaper than the Sony Z1 Compact, and it does a remarkably good job. So I'm very impressed.
Great. Yeah, looks great, works great. It's the exact same as the HTC, you say. Well, not the exact same, but has the same functionalities.
It's got good functionality. If you are a purist and you want perfect photography, you don't just want.
Then you should buy a camera.
Noted. Then you should buy a camera. But this phone is a good mid-range phone, and it's part of a new crop of phones that we're seeing. Huawei is launching the P7 in South Africa soon. The Ascend P7, that will also retail under 4,000 Rand. We're not exactly sure where it will retail, depends on the dollar-rand exchange rate. Phones that South Africans may not be aware of are phones like the Acer Liquid series, believe it or not. Also dual SIM, they cost around about 1,300 Rand or so. They got slightly slower processors, but they're fantastic phones. We just don't see them here. And they all target a growing market of people who are moving from those old feature phones, who are coming onto smartphones, but aren't prepared to pay 469 Rand a month.
Are we going to start seeing more of these new kids on the block?
We will see them as soon as there's a demand. No doubt there'll be somebody willing to sell them. I've already seen that Orange, even though they're not a mobile operator here in South Africa, they're certainly sniffing around to see where they can get a foot into this market. Yeah. And one of the things I've been really impressed with the Orange online store is that there are a number of the phones that you can buy for way cheaper than what you'd be expecting to pay.
Wow. Well, thank you, Duncan, for coming in and doing that fun little compare and contrast. I think everybody knows which phone we picked out of those two. Oh. All right. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.